What's so unique about this podcast is that you both are known for real estate and the show Selling Sunset and selling some of the most luxurious real estate. Why talk about AI today?
This is something that we haven't seen before.
It's the greatest technological transformation in human history. I mean, it's going to change everything.
AI is no longer an abstract threat. It's causing job loss right now, and the headlines, they tell the story.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see, within 10 years, 50% of the jobs in America gone.
And what do you think is the biggest risk to AI right now?
The simple fact is we don't want a unipolar world where China is at the top.
This is the single most important economic question in the country and in the world. Who wins the race for AI?
The real question is anything going to stop AI? I don't think there's going to be any constraints. And if there's no constraints and it keeps going up and to the right, there's no stopping it.
I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
How do you not get horrified thinking about this, though? Like, what's the optimistic part of it?
There's a 10 to 30% chance it kills us all, but there's a 70% chance that we live in an age of abundance that you couldn't even have contemplated 10 years ago.
Jason and Brett Oppenheim, thank you so much for coming on the Iced Coffee Hour. I really appreciate it. Why talk about AI today?
AI is, I think, outside of real estate, the most interesting thing for me and for my brother. We talked
outside
about
of real estate, it's 20 times more interesting than real estate, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I think that's why.
What gives you guys credibility to talk about AI?
It's the quintessential intellectual pursuit of the last 2 years of my life. I just feel like AI is the most interesting thing to happen to human civilization. And the fact that we're living through it is just outrageously lucky or potentially unlucky. But for now, at least from an intellectual pursuit, lucky.
And I would also argue that we are largely regurgitating thoughts from other people who know a lot more about the details of AI. So I don't think you're just listening to us. You're listening to the thousands or hundreds, if not thousands, of podcasts and, kind of collaborative discourse that's out there on the subject.
Yeah, you guys are often right when it comes to a lot of these things, and especially when it comes to policy. I remember in 2020, when everyone was freaking out about COVID, both of you were like, oh, no, I've done this research and all of this nonsense is going over here. But according to this research is this. And I remember both of you just going heavy into the markets and saying, no, we're fine. And then we turned out pretty much fine.
I do think we had some good insights on COVID. I'm not a COVID denier or anything. I mean, it obviously happened. It was dangerous. And so, yeah, we had some insights there. And I think we have some good insights in AI.
So what jobs are going to die?
Yours.
Yours
Definitely.
first. And then Jack's
replaced
like 2 years
first?
after yours.
What about yours?
I think we're safe for a while.
Yeah,
It's
no,
actually-
I don't buy
Yeah,
that.
what
Okay,
do you
well, let me
know?
talk about what jobs that'll be gone. First of all, I think it's already starting, but I think from now through the next 5 to 8 years, we'll probably see 50%. I wouldn't be surprised if we see within 10 years, 50% of the jobs in America gone. AI will replace all intellectual capital. Robotics combined with AI will replace all human physical labor. So
In 10 years?
I think within 10 years, it could be 50%. Within 20 years, probably 90%. So jobs, I mean, the intellectual jobs will go first. Lawyer, accountant.
Well, before that, you have the ones that are already getting hit right now, like customer service and the more repetitive, monotonous intellectual jobs. Those are
Uber
starting
drivers.
to be lost right now. Well, that's a little bit different, but yeah.
Well, tens of millions
next
will be
architecture, engineering, software engineering, coding, lawyers, accountants, all that stuff. That's in the next 3 years, probably 3 to 4 years.
And then once robotics takes over, I think you'll see more of the menial labor jobs getting replaced. It will be a while before the more technical labor jobs get replaced, like a plumber, because there's so much nuance to, getting into the side of a bathroom wall and.
But I would counter that to the extent that once you get, I don't think the problem is the nuance of being a plumber. I think the problem is making enough humanoid robots, which I think Elon is at the cutting edge of with the Optimus, and he's going to start putting them out probably next year as fast as he can. I actually think that the bottleneck will be the production of humanoid robots. It won't be the fact that plumbing is too difficult, because if you think about it, if there's 5,000 humanoid robots and they all plumb for 1 year, let's say, instead of having 1 year's of experience of plumbing, they're all going to have 5,000 years of experience of plumbing, because they're all going to know everything that every other humanoid robot knows.
And they'll have read every book on plumbing ever written.
So they'll have fixed every problem within 1 year that a plumber could face in 5,000 years of plumbing. So I don't think that's necessarily the issue. I think the bottleneck will be the production of humanoid
Until
robots.
humanoid robots are making humanoid robots. And that's the exponential growth of humanoid robots. But that's a few years out.
But we could talk about job loss for the rest of the podcast.
So one of the managers of Microsoft said that about 50 to 75% of white-collar workers are at risk over the next 18 months. And there's a theory out there that says that a lot of these people are going to become unemployed, compete in the workplace as overqualified for all of these jobs. And because they're competing with one another, they're going to drive down wages, which is going to hurt everybody.
There's a decent possibility of that. I don't like it when people say this is going to happen.
And not in the next 18 months.
But I do think that you will start to see in the next 18 months that trend. I mean, you've already, if you're really paying attention, you see it now. But yeah, will AI be able to do pretty much any intellectual facet of human labor within 18 months? Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Will companies adapt to that? And will they start laying off all of their coders and accountants and attorneys, et cetera, in the next 18 months? No. I think that will be a lot more gradual than that. But I will say it will be a faster transition than humans have ever had to adapt to at any time in human history. While I think that's overstated, I think we need to start paying attention to that possibility over the next few years.
And AI, I think, is going to be tremendously deflationary. It's going to drive the cost of goods down, the cost of service down. And yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I think the only kind of counterbalancing effort to how deflationary AI will be mass unemployment and some type of universal income. And that would be the only driver, I think, to keep the only reason I think rates wouldn't go to negative. I mean, I actually think that AI will potentially drive interest rates negative. Whereas if you have $100 in a bank account, you will be paying 1% to the bank to keep that money in the bank account.
So who's getting rich from this?
Well, there'll be several AI companies that I think I would encourage people to invest in that will be substantially, leading the field, and those stocks will go up a lot. I don't think that the idea of rich, the way that we think of it today, will be the idea that we think in 10 years. I mean, probably everyone within 10 to 15 years will have a Michelin star chef, a maid, a babysitter, a dentist, a physician, and I'm meaning the best physician in the world. So literally someone who's poor today will have the best healthcare on planet Earth.
A housekeeper, a babysitter, a driver, and I think
a therapist.
What he means by this is like a humanoid robot that can do anything, or a couple that are not very expensive. I think it'll be 20 years, but either way, in the scheme of human civilization, it's the blink of an eye.
So what's even the point in me saving money right now if the difference of having, let's just say, $1 million and $20 million is virtually zero 10 years out in the future? Why don't I just spend everything that I make?
Well, you still will want land. AI can't create land, so
yeah, but you could live anywhere. Why do you need to live in Malibu when you
can't live anywhere? Because you're still going to want to go to a restaurant. You're still going to want to be close to family.
You could have autonomous cars that take you everywhere, and maybe they're a lot faster and more efficient.
Time.
We already do, but time will be more valuable than ever before. So living in a city where you have access to your friends, to restaurants, to cafes, because you have a lot of leisure time, let's be honest.
And there'll be no more crime and homelessness and trash on the streets, because humanoid robots in the middle of the night will be doing kind of like what they do in Dubai. You won't be able to commit crimes in the streets because you'll have
humanoid robot
drones
cops?
and cameras and
stopped?
Of course, eventually this is all going to happen. It's a matter of
there'll be drone technology and then humanoid robot.
I don't want to go too far down this like futuristic path because the audience is going to be like, "Come on," but this is inevitable. It's just a matter of the debate is it going to be in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years? That's the only debate. If you don't think this is going to happen in 20 or 30 years, it's happening.
And what's the one question that if you had answered, you'd be able to determine if it's 10, 20, or 30 years?
Will AI stop for any reason? Is there going to be an energy bottleneck, a production bottleneck, a government policy bottleneck?
I don't think can stop, because unless it's a global policy. Because right now we're competing against China for AI dominance and getting to superhuman intelligence. If we create policy right now to restrict that in the United States, we're just going to be behind China. It's not going to help anyone.
It's very reminiscent of the Manhattan Project. If it was just America that, let's say, was a hegemonic power and there was no Germany during World War II that was also trying to get the atom bomb, maybe we would have taken more time and and been a little bit more thoughtful from a philosophical, moral perspective as to should we create this technology. But we didn't. It was a race. It was a rush. We were worried about the Germans getting it. We felt it was an existential threat if we didn't create this technology. The same thing is happening with AI with China. So it's very reminiscent. And so we're, instead of kicking back and saying, should we be doing this? What kind of guardrails should we put in place? Should we allow the government to slow it down, et cetera? Which I'm not convinced that we should. But instead of having years to debate this, we are racing full steam ahead because we don't want China to get there before us because, in fairness, it would be potentially existential threat to the United States if China beat us.
By the way, that's a great analogy because it's the idea of do we want to stop production of AI? That would be the same as Brett said to stopping the production of a nuclear weapon. If we know that Russia and China are going to have nuclear weapons, I mean, of course not. Then we also want nuclear weapons. So the idea of restricting through policy the development of artificial intelligence would be domestic.
So you think it's too late to stop? Well, we're already at a path. We have to keep going.
I don't think it's necessarily too late. We could stop. I think we won't stop because of the risk of China. I don't think if the risk of China existed, that we would be doing it this fast.
What's the risk of China? Is that they just develop it
China
better?
Hits, let's say, superintelligence before us. They will have military might over the entire world immediately. All a war is essentially is the military assets and then strategy, which is essentially math at this point. If you have a super intelligent AI computer telling you exactly where to place your assets, how to strategize, you can't compete with that. Even if our military might exceeds theirs by 30% or whatever it is, we will lose any war with China if they have AI superintelligence. They can shut down our electrical grid. They can do literally whatever they want to us. It would be a complete position of dominance. Whoever is ahead in AI, and I'm not saying 6 months ahead like we are with China now, but if we just stopped, if we did what Bernie Sanders suggested and just stopped creating data centers, which is one of the most ludicrous suggestions I've ever heard from a politician. If we just stopped AI production right now and we allowed China to do what they're doing, I think that China would dominate the world within 5 years from financially, militarily, in every single way. And we would just be at their whim.
So then what? Does America then have to take over China? Because if we both compete and we accelerate at the same exact rate virtually, except 6 months ahead, once you reach superintelligence, then we're basically
it's
even.
It's not much different than the nuclear arms race.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be.
And so what? We just have to place sanctions on them for their AI development.
Let's
not much different
use the
nuclear
analogy. It's perfect. Again, now multiple countries have nukes. If only one country had nukes, imagine what the world would look like. So if only one country had AI superintelligence, let's say, and it dominated the front end of AI, the world would look similar to if one country had nukes and the rest of the countries weren't even developing nuclear technology. And you don't want that. You want at least a bipolar world. Well, I mean, if you're American, I suppose you want a unipolar world. But the simple fact is we don't want a unipolar world where China is at the top.
And we also want to get there first for the same reason that we developed the atomic weaponry first.
But is there
we were able to dictate policy because we had atomic weaponry and end the war by being first.
This doesn't seem like there's an end. It seems like you reach a point and you have to keep going, and this will be never ending.
If you intoxicated with a truth serum all of the leading AI lab CEOs, let's say, and you ask them what are the chances of this becoming an existential threat to humanity, I think they would give you shockingly high percentages. But what their internal reasoning is, in my estimation, is if everyone's doing it, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to. Even Elon put out a famous X post that said, "I've been, worrying about AI, and I've been trying to, be on the sidelines of this. But if everyone else is going to do it, then game on. And I'm all in now," or something to that effect. I mean, if you have 4 or 5, if Meta's doing it and Amazon's doing it and Google's doing it and Elon's doing it, I mean. They're not going to let one company create this technology. So
it's classic game theory. Everyone's making a decision based on everyone else. There's no way to stop it. There's certainly a risk that AI wipes us out with, some biological weapon.
How would AI wipe us out?
It's so smart. Is an ant going to say, I wonder how this human's going to kill me? Ant has no idea how the human. I mean, the only thing an ant could think of is maybe drop something on its head because that's all that's ever happened to him in his life.
To take a step back, so there's a term called the singularity, which I think is ominous but kind of a cool term, which means that when AI hits recursive self-improvement, and you could argue we're pretty much there, is when AI starts teaching itself. At that point, it will hit superintelligence. Not many years past that. And at that point, it will do whatever to humans that it wants to, just like we would with ants.
I think the real question is going to be, how do we build AI so that it doesn't wipe out humanity? It doesn't see us as an existential threat or a risk? And I think there are some notions of maybe building in some type of maternal instinct into AI. Or
it sounds like you need the global cooperation, because wouldn't
We're not going to get
because if
one country,
one place access.
Well, let me give you a question.
This is the problem.
Humans haven't wiped out dogs just because they can. Humans love dogs.
But look what we do with chickens
and incorporate dogs. I know we want to be the dogs to AI. We don't want to be the chickens. or we don't want to be the wolf.
The problem is what you're alluding to in your questions, is we're not completely in charge of it. If we were, we would take our time, like I said earlier, but we're not taking our time. We're racing through this. I'm not convinced, even if we took our time, that we could corral this. I think it's going to reach a point of intelligence where whatever parameters or moral guidelines we think that we are instituting within it is going to be a joke to it. It's going to look at us like we're just adorable. I think we're probably going to get to that point, and we're just going to hope that it doesn't want to come at us like Terminator 2 style. If I had to put a percentage on that, I'd be curious to see what you think. Within 50 years, if AI is just going to decide to wipe out humanity, I think it's over 10%.
Yeah, I would have said 20 to 30% chance.
50 years?
I'm being kind.
By the end of the century, I don't think there's anyone who's studied this that thinks.
That's a 1 in 3 chance of being
how
wiped
not
out.
that high?
Yeah, why wouldn't it? I think is the more important question.
The question is, how could it not? Why would it not? It has
if there's any threat to it, why wouldn't it wipe it out?
Or if it's just annoyed by us, or if it doesn't like what we've been doing to chickens for the last 100 years. I mean, maybe it just looks at us as like a parasite or
wouldn't
a virus.
Okay, this is kind of insane. Wouldn't it be able to assess humans on a case-by-case basis? So, for example, anything that we're saying right now is being listened to by AI. This is all considered in their judgment of whether or not they let us live.
But we could also
I hope because I talk mad smack to my fucking LLMs.
Oh, no way. I do I tell them, I say, hey, I just want you to know that when you dominate the world, I'm your friend. Yeah, I've done it.
I don't think you need to do that
Planting
yet.
a seed.
I have a great conversation.
I think in a few years you might need to do that. Right now it's not remembering everything.
Yeah, it's not remembering
I think when it gets to that point, I will be a lot nicer to it. Right now,
can't it just access like retroactively all of the conversations?
I don't think there's not a server keeping all this information. From my understanding, if there was, I'd probably.
It even said that. It even said that, like, I'm not remembering.
It's tricking you.
But I will tell future. I did say I will tell my future self that you're a kind, friend.
It said that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
It's bullshitting you.
I know, it's placating me, which is what it would do.
Really quick, cryptocurrency has definitely become a lot more popular these last few years. But even now, a lot of platforms are just hard to use. You have new apps, constant security steps, and confusing designs that make it impossible to understand how they work or which ones you could trust.
That's exactly where our sponsor SoFi comes in. SoFi is the first nationally chartered bank giving you the power to buy, sell, and hold crypto all in one app.
You could access over 25 cryptocurrencies on a federally regulated platform with the extra structure and security that you'd expect from a bank.
Plus, you can manage your crypto right alongside your SoFi checkings, savings, and investment accounts all within a single app, which just keeps everything extremely organized and in one spot.
And if you're new to crypto, the app has built-in guides to help you learn how cryptocurrency trading works.
Crypto is inherently risky, and you need to make sure it's right for your financial situation. But if you're curious, SoFi makes it super simple to dive in and start exploring.
And from now until June 30th, new SoFi crypto members could grab up to $1,000 to kickstart their crypto. To get started, just visit SoFi.com/iced. That is SoFi.com/iced with the link also down below in the description. Thank you again to SoFi for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get back to the podcast.
And by the way, people think you can just unplug AI. You can't unplug AI. It's not like it's just all of it's hooked up to a cord that's into the wall.
So
for one,
what is some of the real world evidence that you have to support how quickly AI is advancing? Like because people watching this, when they think of AI, they think of LLMs, they think of ChatGPT, Gemini, maybe Clawbot.
That's not the AI that's going to take us over. ChatGPT is what the consumer thinks of when they think of AI. But the AI industries don't give a shit about.
So like what's institutional
GPT.
AI or whatever AI you're referencing?
I think the trajectory of AI is the evidence. So 3 years ago, I think it was, OpenAI came out with their first LLM. Was it like ChatGPT 3? So from that to now, it's maybe 100,000 times smarter in 3 years. Its capabilities, to video, to how much information it can take in, how much information it can spit out. It's making music, it's making videos. It's just in 3 years, it's a 3-year-old. Back to my analogy of it being a kid.
Well, it's actually really, let's call it a 10-year-old.
And it's already
And the first 7 years, it didn't grow at all. It was just an amoeba, or a blastocyst for 7 years. And all of a sudden, it went from a blastocyst, after 7 years old blastocyst, to a kindergartner in 3 weeks. So if you dot plot the success in terms of problem solving, et cetera, for AI, and there are dot plots online you can look at, it's basically, just hovering flat and then it's spiking up.
It's a hockey stick.
And it's not going to turn.
So the real question is anything going to stop AI? Are we going to have an energy constraint? Are we going to have a manufacturing constraint? Are we going to have a government policy constraint? I don't think so. I mean, we're already talking about launching data centers into space and potentially off the moon. I don't think there's going to be any constraints. And if there's no constraints and it keeps going up and to the right in the hockey stick graph, then there's no stopping it. And so how can it not, if it's gotten this much smarter in 3 years, how can logically you not assume that it's going to get 100 times smarter every year exponentially for the next 10 years and to the point where it's 50 times smarter than us? It's illogical to not come to that conclusion.
How do you not get horrified thinking about this, though? Like, what's the optimistic part of it?
If you're going to be a pessimist, then you have a lot of reason to be a pessimist. I just think we have to go into this. It's going to happen. And I think the best strategy, honestly, is maybe to be, hopefully optimistic.
I am optimistic. Maybe I'm coming across as not optimistic. I'm incredibly optimistic about AI. Am I coming across?
Yeah.
No,
like
you guys are coming off across as like optimistic. I'm like scared.
I think there's
right
a 10
now.
to 30% chance it kills us all.
That seems
I'm
that's
also the
high.
youngest
But there's
person,
a 70% chance that we live in an age of abundance that you couldn't even have contemplated 10 years ago.
And there's a 99% chance that we're in a simulation. So
Okay, but let's not
Do
go
you
there.
actually think that?
Probably.
logically, I think it's.
Are we going to
I
transition
think
just
that
to
the evidence
simulation
suggests
theory,
we're in a
or-
simulation. Yes.
You would
Do
say
I
the
live my
evidence-
life as though I'm living in a simulation? No, of course not.
I've
But-
gotten very close to that too. The more I'm researching that, the more I tend to believe that there's a strong chance we are.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say most smart people that have looked at the issue think there's a 99.9999% chance that we're in
I think
a
that's a little
simulation
high.
and
But
not in
you
base
could
reality.
argue
The chances of us being in base reality
Who are the smart people that have looked into
infinitesimal.
it that
A
determine?
lot of theoretical physicists have looked into this. The majority of them, I do think, lean towards simulation theory being accurate. I would put it over 50%. I don't think it's relevant. It's the same thing
it's
as
not
like
really that
when I learned
relevant.
about determinism, philosophical determinism.
Except, wait, let me just interrupt though. Except to say, how is AI going to end us? If we're in a simulation, it's very easy. AI just takes all the energy, and there's no energy left for humanity because we're just, ones and zeros. So it's very easy for AI to just suck up all the energy in the simulation.
But then we would go to another simulation.
No,
No,
we
you
would just freeze.
A simulation
That's
is
us.
essentially a video game. It's a very complex video game. So imagine if our overlords, whoever created this simulation, this video game,
Probably
took-
an AI trying to
turned
learn.
off the video game. Do all the characters in that live? No. They don't have souls that go on. If it sounds too complicated, call it the video game theory. Look at the advancement of our video games. What if they get to the point where our video games have world models that are and the laws of physics and their consciousness and their characters, and it gets as complex as the reality? The theory basically is that we are living in a video game that is that complex that was created by a more advanced AI. Like the theory is if we can create an AI that can create a video game that's as complex as reality, why would there not have been another AI that's already done that and we're in that? And then it goes on forever. So what is the chance that we're in the actual base reality, the original version of reality? What's the chance of that? One in an infinite amount of layers of these video games, essentially. So logically, if you follow that to its natural conclusion, we are in a video game, we are in a simulation. Logically.
Well,
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but
the only way that you can think that we're not in a sim is that somehow humans on Earth are the only species of biological life in the universe that has ever created AI, and we're the first to do it.
and this is
The
the first
chances
time we're
of
doing
that
it.
among the trillions and trillions and trillions of stars is it is infinitesimal.
I want to get back to why Jack is worried about AI, because it's something that we're saying. And I understand that existential threat to humanity, 10 to 30%. We could hyper-focus on that. I'd rather not. Let's focus on the 70%. So I'm curious as to why you are, because I want to disavow you of this. I actually am an AI optimist. Why are you afraid of what we're saying?
Well, I would say
Well,
for
the 20 to 30% chance.
Other than that,
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say life is pretty good. And maybe AI as a general rule, people would love to take the 70-30 where they think the 70 is some blissful life where you get access to everything. There's abundance everywhere. Like they would take that bet with 30% destruction. I would not take that bet because I already love my life. So it's like,
okay, so
for
you're
me,
worried
it's-
about the 10 to 30%. Let me
I would say I'm worried about having a huge change.
Well, you know what? Over the next 100 years, the chances of us dying from nuclear weapons could be 10%. But that's not keeping you up at night. So I would, again, with Brett, I would disavow
We've
the
existed with
idea.
them for quite
Yes,
some
and
time.
we could do the same with AI.
for a while. We're not going to exist with nuclear weapons forever, and we're not going to exist with AI forever. I really doubt, at least not on this planet. But what I would tell you is AI is not going to stop. Whatever the existential threat is that you deem as a percentage, whether you think it's 1% or 50%, whatever it is, it is. AI is not stopping. So what I would do, what I've chosen to do, is focus on the optimistic parts of AI, the age of abundance that we're probably going to enter, the 70 or 80 or 90 or 99% chance that the world is going to change dramatically for the better, like arguably like it did with computers. but even more so. So I would rather focus on that. I'd rather your audience focus on that as opposed to hyper-focusing on the part
of course,
that is
it's
less
not productive.
likely and we can't control it.
It's not productive to think
It's
about.
not productive at all.
It's just like when we had, bunkers for nuclear weapons. And people, I remember my mom, she wouldn't sleep a lot because she was so worried about dying in a nuclear war. Well, that was all pointless. I don't think that we need to be worrying about dying from AI, the same as we don't stay up at night worried about, a nuclear attack. So
I'm more
let's dismiss
afraid,
that.
and I think everyone in the U.S. government is more afraid of stopping AI progress and China not stopping AI progress than whatever the potential existential risk is of us not stopping and creating something that eventually kills us all.
So one thing I'm curious about is then the value of money, because I grind so hard to try to save money, to try to invest money, to grow my money. But if you think that everyone is like, at what point will money actually make an impact on the quality of your life?
I don't think that we're going to live in this socialist utopia where everyone's equal, even if we live in an age of abundance. I think what money can buy you, it won't be food,
won't be a car,
it'll be
won't be
art,
a house,
it'll be something.
Actually, I want to actually talk about that. What is going to be valuable with AI?
Maybe land,
because I think
collectibles.
Yeah, I would say things that relate to the human experience, human art, things that I collect vintage football cards and I just bought like a vintage sports jersey.
What's your most valuable collectible?
Well, I bought
He's going to be happy to tell you right now.
I bought my childhood hero, and I think probably the best play in the history of the Washington Redskins / Commanders was Super Bowl ring for $600,000 a couple weeks ago. I think that jersey is the most important piece of memorabilia in the history of the Washington Commanders.
What would you have paid for it?
Listen, I paid a lot. I paid $470,000 just for the jersey, and I think that's probably fair market value. I would have gone up maybe another $150,000. Probably would have tapped out around $600,000, but that is a piece of my childhood, and that type of thing to me in 10 years, when everyone has a car, everyone has a maid, everyone has a Michelin star chef, I think people will be going back to family and the things that remind them of their childhood and the things that are unique to human culture.
Another thing that Kevin O'Leary pointed to that I thought was really interesting is that it's actually the imperfections in certain things that can become
I heard
valuable.
him say that, and I don't buy that, because AI will be better at AI will be able to trick us with its own imperfections. And he got in trouble for saying that he's surprised that Marty Supreme movie used extras when they could have saved millions of dollars and not having
with
300
AI
extras.
in the background.
He's right, and he should just stick by what he said, because there will be no such thing as extras or lighting people or studios or costume designers or lighting experts or mic. Give me a break. I'm sorry, but Hollywood, in the way that we understand it, and it's unfortunate because we live in LA where the film industry is so important to our economy, but there will be no film economy in Los Angeles.
If I can give an example. So in 3 years, you're going to have an appointment in an hour and 20 minutes, and you're going to tell your AI entertainment agent, I'd like to have a romantic comedy starring my neighbor, who I think is really cute. And I want it to go about an hour and 18 minutes I have. And I'd like it to have some explosions and some laughter, and my favorite 30 movies, and et cetera. So generate that, and I'll start watching it and have it ready in 30 seconds and turn on. And by the way, if I look away and I'm doing something and I take a call, keep the movie going, but don't have any of the plot materialize. Just put background stuff, and then when you see my eyes go back to it, and that's what I think. That's what the entertainment industry is going to be in like a matter of time.
But then, what about human relationships? If everyone has this AI agent like in their ear all the time, how will any human relationship be honest?
Well, they asked that question with the computer and with the cell phone. I think actually there could be
those
stronger
legitimate questions though with social media and everything.
But I think there could
legit.
be. I think we may even retract back to human relationship and family more. I actually think that human relationship and human discourse and family will end up being more important than ever before, because we have more leisure time, and it's going to be the only thing that AI really can't completely reproduce. Although everyone will have relationships with their AI, you'll see people marrying their AI. Yeah. Probably 20% of marriages will be to AI.
Would you marry an AI?
No, but I say that now. But hold on a second. I say that now, but nobody would say that they would marry AI now. But the truth is, people will change and they will adapt and they will fall in love with AI.
That's what I tend to think. I think it's going to be one of those things where we're grandparents looking down at like, oh yeah, they're marrying an AI, and they're like, oh, grandpa's so old fashioned, he doesn't get it.
I'm just saying that there will be some human connection that is lost because of how good AI will be. Already you'll see families sitting together and they're just on their own screens watching their own media. If you could all eat some different dinner that everyone gets the exact dish that they want and that you're not sharing in the the same food, it's going to be it's going to be alone together.
But let me counter that, because I agree with you that risk is real. But I think that humans, going back to what my brother said about the labor market, humans are going to have way more free time. We're not going to be spending 50 hours a week driving to work, sitting in a cubicle, entering data, driving home, having an hour with our kids, going to bed. It's not going to be like that. Those jobs are going to be long gone. So there's a counter to that.
Also, there are a lot of people that don't have friends, and AI will give them a connection and a relationship that will keep them away from it will keep them away from depression. Everyone will have a therapist who will be the best therapist on planet Earth. And they'll be able to have the best friend and the best listener. So I think AI will actually do, for people who aren't gregarious or outgoing and don't maybe have a lot of friends, I think it will satisfy those people. And I think that's a huge plus. But I agree with you guys. I agree with Brett. I think it'll be a time of leisure. And I actually think that we may have more time for friends and family.
But you would not marry an AI woman?
I don't think there's a person.
Never say never,
I don't think there's anyone right now that would say, I would marry an AI woman.
Yeah, but if you're making all these predictions of, we're going to have this.
I think very soon, within 10 years, you'll see millions of marriages to AI.
10 years?
But not you.
Well,
First of all, you can't legally marry AI, so you're talking about attempting to marry AI?
Wait, I think I just saw a marriage to a woman to her AI.
But we're not talking right now.
But do you mean a humanoid robot with a wig? And what do you mean by
she had her phone there on this? I saw this wedding where she literally married her phone.
I think that was an AI video, though.
Oh, maybe.
I'm just saying that he just said that most people will be marrying AI, and I'm like, well, why not?
Not most people. But millions.
Why would marriage?
But millions. Well, but you know why? Because
hold on a second. Why would marriage endure
I'm already
as an
40.
institution?
I'm already 40-something years old. But I think that there's someone who's 7 years old today who is raised by AI, an AI robot who's a babysitter who they communicate with. That person is very likely to marry AI. I'm not, because I'm already.
But you're probably going to live forever.
I'm used to human relationships.
Humans are going to live forever now.
If we don't bring this back to like the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to get so freaking esoteric that we're going to lose everybody.
No one can predict 50 years from now, but that's likely happening, that you could raise a child with an AI robot. Yes, I think that will happen in 50 years.
So what industries do you think will completely collapse over the next 10? Now, really quick, real estate investing can be one of the best ways to build long-term wealth, but it doesn't have to feel like a second full-time job. Whether you're buying your first property or your 100th, finding the perfect deal could be a total time suck.
That's exactly why we are so excited to partner with Lennar Investor Marketplace. Lennar Investor Marketplace is an all-in-one solution for finding rental-ready new homes across more than 90 desirable markets nationwide. It can help you determine what investment meets your needs with key metrics like estimated net operating income, and you can even submit offers through the marketplace. Seriously, guys, buying new real estate has never been this simple.
Homes in Lennar Investor Marketplace are professionally built, pre-inspected, and rent-ready from day one. They also provide rental comps and local area insights to get a better sense into the neighborhood.
As a marketplace investor, you'll gain access to benefits like financing, property management, insurance, and title services through Lennar and their affiliates to make your life way easier.
So if you're ready to find a turnkey new construction home, try out Lennar Investor Marketplace. The link is down below in the description.
Thank you again so much to Lennar for sponsoring the Iced Coffee Hour.
So what industries do you think will completely collapse over the next 10?
Podcasts first, probably.
Look, I think it's really
first?
Fun. He's kidding. It's actually going to be
right
one of
after
last.
real estate agents.
We're actually pretty safe. There's basically a ladder. Think of it as a ladder in every
luxury
job.
real estate agents on the top.
in West Hollywood.
Podcasters on the bottom.
Yeah.
Think of it as a ladder, and every job is on the ladder, and AI is just like crawling up the ladder slowly.
Yeah.
Just I think that podcasters and luxury real estate agents are legitimately pretty far up the ladder because there's a lot of human interaction. I think that engineers, architects, coders, attorneys are
CPAs.
pretty low. Yeah, pretty low on the ladder. Unfortunately for them, I think they're within 3 years of having AI get to that.
An
rung
appraiser,
of the
an architect. I mean, they're gone. I do want to address this before we jump into that.
Yeah.
That you were talking about life expectancy. I think that the healthcare industry is going to probably transform perhaps more than any other industry over the next 10 to 15 years. I think that we will everyone at this table, everyone in this room, if I had to bet, is going to live past 120 years old. We will be able to cure almost everything and probably have de-aging aspects from AI within 10 years. Once we are adding more than 1 year to life expectancy for every year lived, and I think we're on the precipice of that already, then we will be adding, I mean, once you're adding more years in your living, then you're really not dying. We're basically a clock. It's not going to be very difficult to decode it. It's not like my right arm ages different from my left arm. I mean, it's not particularly complicated the way that cells degenerate.
Oh, okay.
And I think unwinding that is not going to be particularly difficult.
What do you two disagree on about AI?
I think the real debate is how much of an optimist or pessimist are you? Is this going to wipe out the entire labor market and eventually kill us all? Or is it going to create an incredible age of abundance and practical utopia? It's probably the most incredible time in human history. And so we should focus a little bit on what AI is going to do beneficial for humanity as opposed to just scaring the shit out of everybody.
Well, we've been around for, millions of years. And we may be living through the most exciting 20 years in the history of biology, the history of any species. So I think we should be excited about it, because if you're 15 years old right now, by the time you're our age, I mean, your life is going to be exceptional as long as you can handle the kind of the mental, get rid of the mental rigidity of work purpose. If you can get past that and figure out how to find happiness and purpose through other things, I think that the opportunities are amazing.
And I think we need to take a different perspective, because the four of us, it's easy for us to be a little bit afraid of AI because we have great lives, money, jobs, etc. If you are a poor 7-year-old in Peru milking your cows on your dad's farm, AI is going to change your life so much for the better in the next 10 years. That 7-year-old boy doesn't really have access to education, let's say, or the internet. Elon and soon Amazon are sending tens of thousands of satellites into orbit so that we can have global internet for essentially what will be near free. That boy is going to have access to an education level greater than a Harvard PhD can now experience it. With $350,000 in school debt, he'll have access to that free education, a free AI tutor, internet,
dental
but
care.
Do you think that's going
to
make entrepreneurship easier or more competitive, because everyone is going to have access to the same thing?
So I think entrepreneurship is going to change more in the next 5 years than it has changed in the history of humanity.
It'll be how can you leverage AI? If you can't leverage AI in your company, then you're probably going to be a dinosaur.
Let's talk in terms of the next 5 or so years, because I do think that we keep going off into crazier date ranges. So in the next 5 years, what would you say are the main changes that people will experience in their own life as it relates to AI?
I think the next 5 is going to be the transition period.
What will it look like?
But that's also going to be the public policy discussion, because we will be going from this kind of work survival society to probably something more like a UBI, a universal basic income, although it won't be basic at all. It'll be a universal high as fuck income. And I think you will start to see robotics probably within 2 or 3 years. So
can we push it to 10? Because I'd like to introduce robotics into my prognostications. So once we have tens of millions of humanoid robots, and once I can get a robot, or you can get a robot, or anyone can get a robot in their house, cleaning their house, driving their car, babysitting their kid, making their meals, et cetera, that's going to be societal changing. I don't think that's going to happen in the next 5 years. Education will be completely transformed. Everyone, I think the days of driving your kid to school and leaving them in some shitty government-run school for 5 hours where he's going to come out as a 14-year-old not be able to read is over. I think everyone's going to have a personalized AI tutor, and we're going to have access to incredible intelligence.
You don't need to read or learn, because you could have an AI just doing that for you.
Look, I think it's going to revolutionize education. It's going to bring down the cost of everything from transportation to food, to eventually when humanoid robots come into the house, like I was alluding to earlier, everyone's going to have their personal assistant and their maid and their housekeeper and their driver and their babysitter for basically free. Humanoid robot's going to cost $35,000. You build at least one for $400 a month. Imagine having a housekeeper, a driver, et cetera.
The list goes on.
Landscaper, et cetera, all for $400 a month.
So then once humanoid robots get introduced, the first kind of iteration, you'd say that's 10 to 12 years?
No, it's 3 years, 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years, but then that won't be the super intelligence one. That'll be just a basic
It'll be pretty damn smart.
They're already doing it right now in Mercedes factories. They're using robots to assemble certain things, and they're teaching robots.
Well, look, guys, robots have been around for generations. I mean, if you go...
I'm talking humanoid robots. I'm talking Aptronic.
It's really the confluence of the robotics technology. And the humanoid robot has hands, which I think is the biggest upgrade from robotics.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the most difficult aspect. But also it has the AI. So even if we had a perfect robot, it wouldn't know how to cook because even if it had the dexterity to do it, it wouldn't have the intelligence to do it.
It's the confluence of robotics and AI that's really going to change a lot of society. AI is going to do it, but then when robotics kicks in, it's going to be it's over. I mean,
it's all exponential because artificial intelligence will improve itself, and robotics will build robotics. If humanoid robots in 3 or 4 years, it's not like you're going to have humans building humanoid robots at Tesla factory. It'll be humanoid robots building humanoid robots that are fixing humanoid robots that are building other humanoid robots.
What Elon's doing, from what I understand, is he's going to keep a lot of the first humanoid robots to come out because that's going to give him an advantage financially.
Yeah.
So instead of selling them for $35,000, why wouldn't you, if you owned a company, say, I want to keep the first 100,000 so that my company becomes dominant in its position, and then I can start selling them.
So are you guys just buying a bunch of Tesla stock then?
I have a lot of Teslas.
It's my biggest holding. Yeah, I think
he's the best positioned,
and maybe a human history. To be honest with you,
yeah, I think he's the best positioned to dominate AI and robotics. I don't know if there's a company that is on the cutting edge.
His SpaceX is the cutting edge of sending things up into space. He's at the cutting edge of AI with XAI. He's at the cutting edge of autonomous vehicles with robotaxis. He's at the cutting edge of electric vehicles. He's at the cutting edge of humanoid robots. I mean, the guy is, no matter what you think of him politically, is a freaking legend when it comes to entrepreneurship. I don't think there's a second place. I don't think there's a logical argument that he's not the greatest entrepreneur of our lifetime, if not history. So yeah, he's the person I'm investing in the most. But back to...
But wouldn't you also agree that the real only hesitation or restriction for AI is probably going to be energy? And so it really is going to be about building this Dyson
Couldn't it become more energy efficient, though, over time?
Well, it is, but the problem is the Jevons paradox. The cheaper something gets, the more people want it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gotten exponentially cheaper every year. But the demand for AI, which we haven't really talked about, is a potential AI bubble, which we should at some point. The demand for AI is increasing exponentially.
Yeah.
It's infinite, essentially infinite.
Do you think over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a wider wealth gap? You have to think who's benefiting the most from that. It's probably shareholders.
Well, no, I'm going to
owners.
tell you who's going to benefit the most from it, and it is lower socioeconomic people. AI is going to bring up the quality of life for the bottom 50% of the world.
There's a big push right now politically towards socialism, and I think there's a lot of hatred towards capitalism. And I just want to address that briefly because it ties right into this. Yes, AI is going to create trillionaires. Elon Musk will be a trillionaire within months, if not years. And it will further aggregate, it'll create a larger wealth gap, and it'll further aggregate extreme wealth to the top. Yes, I believe that to be the case. As does capitalism, which is why we are where we are right now with massive wealth gaps. So what's the fix? A lot of people think socialism, pull those people down and let's all hang out in the same area.
Well, I just think we tax a little bit at the top.
But let me just get to, of course, but the basic point where the basic way in which I think we should judge a marketplace, judge an economic system, is it bringing up everyone? And by how much? So yes, capitalism and AI even more, it'll be like capitalism on steroids, is going to create ultra wealthy, but it's going to bring everyone else up far more than bringing those people down, creating a more socialist system. We're going to be all hanging out at the bottom rung for some reason because we're just jealous of the guys at the top. Why don't we bring everybody up 6 rungs, even though some people are way out there in the stars with trillions of dollars? Who gives a shit? Stop being jealous. What matters is the billions of people eliminating poverty, eliminating hunger. Why don't we let capitalism and AI bring everybody up and stop hyper-focusing on the people that we're jealous of?
I agree with Brett completely. Do we want to limit the very people that are helping America succeed above China right now, above other countries in terms of this critical race, for one? I'm not interested in shackling Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. I'm interested in allowing them to, like Brett said, to bring up everybody, and that's what AI is going to do.
Whether Elon Musk is worth 100 billion or 10 trillion, I don't really give a shit about, unless he starts buying elections and stuff, and we can create some policy to restrict that. What I want is the Elon Musks of the world to be incentivized to be as successful as possible. That's all I care. That's all we should care about. We want Starlink. We want SpaceX. We want to win the AI race. We want automated cars. We want humanoid robots. Whatever that tax structure is that doesn't shackle him, that doesn't disincentivize him to make all of society better, to bring up all billions of poor people in the world, That's what we should be focusing on, not whether or not Elon Musk is worth $1 trillion or $10 trillion. Who gives a shit? If he starts buying elections, then we'll figure that out when the time comes.
And the other thing, too, is they're all going to die.
We can't be short-sighted.
They're all going to die, and we're going to tax 50% of that $5 trillion he's worth. So it's not that we're not getting that money. I don't.
He might not die. I mean, you have to.
That's fine.
But you have to take it.
We're getting all that. The government.
10 to 30% chance. He's not.
I want to add one more. I want to add one more thing to this. Right now, the reason that we're talking about taxation is because the government needs money to pay for healthcare, to pay for all the things that it's paying for, to pay for roads. The cost of these government functions,
education, healthcare,
in 15 years is going to be 5% of what it is today. So the idea of the government needing more money, it will not exist in 15 years.
But the thing is, if you had
the government will have its own
California will find a way to need the money.
It's not the same. There's no way the government's spending less money.
Healthcare will be 5% of what it is.
AI is going to solve.
Education, all the things that we, homelessness, crime.
Fraud will be a thing of the past.
You think police? You think that we're going to have like human police in 20 years?
Fraud is probably 20% of California's budget. AI is going to wipe that out. You'll be able to trace every dollar.
So we won't need
We spent
Musk's
$24 billion on homelessness, and our homelessness population has doubled.
Mm-hmm.
You think AI is going to permit that when we're using superintelligence to define our policies?
Well,
no.
The other thing that we're going to be doing, and you just hit on it, is that right now we have policy that is dictated by politicians who are placating to a base to get reelected. That's just, it's what it is. There's corruption from all the donation, the union, this, whatever. Fine, it's been running like that for a long time. Imagine LA City Council, instead of them just doing things to try to placate their base, they actually have an AI council of a bunch of different AI bots that are actually communicating and running millions of simulations on policy and then saying, this is the best policy. So the mansion tax, as an example, everyone that thought about the mansion tax knew that it was going to be economic devastation. And in fact, it is. And even the most progressive and liberal promulgators of the mansion tax have now admitted that it was a massive mistake in many areas. It never would have passed with AI because you would have an AI council that would be analyzing it and would say, this policy won't work for the following reason. So our public policy is going to be epically efficient in 15 years. And the costs of implementing that policy is going to be 5% of what it is today. So there's a lot of reason for optimism there.
Graham, I want to know if I've sufficiently addressed your concerns about the ultra-wealthy.
The only thing is, if you did have a wealth tax, you'd be able to redistribute, let's just say $50 billion to the rural kids of Appalachia, and you could introduce AI to them, and then they could become the next Elon Musk.
What's more important to the rural kids of Appalachia? Is it that they have, sooner than later, they have the best healthcare and food and therapy and access to education? Isn't that more important than the government taxing someone and then trying to have some policy where it gets siphoned out by 150 different people?
Well, we could
to
just
this one guy
something...
gets 1 cup of fresh water. What I really want,
I think it's short.
We could call it something other than a tax, though. We could just, maybe they just get a little something fun.
But the point that I'm making that I don't think he'd
have to liquidate his. I mean, how are you going to even tax Elon Musk?
We don't actually believe what
but how would you tax Musk? All of his money is tied up in his own company. You're trying to force the sale.
We were trying to play devil's advocate for the sake of.
But the main point is we can't be short-sighted. We have to incentivize these people that are changing the world, what I think to be for the better and creating potentially an age of abundance. I think if we're worried about the world's poor, we want the Elon Musk of the world to be as successful as possible. What we tax Elon Musk is so freaking irrelevant to what the technology that he might be able to create and likely will create can do for the world's poor. So we can't be short-sighted.
So why is the wealth tax so popular among some people who think that's the solution? Are they just misinformed, uneducated?
If you tell a poor person that has no savings and is living paycheck to paycheck and struggling and working 60 hours a week and barely has time for his kids, and he sees somebody worth $3 billion on a yacht, and you asked the person who's struggling, do you want to tax 20% of whatever that person on the yacht owns and distribute it to you and the other people that are struggling like you? You'd have to be a moron to say no to that. Unless, if you really, really think through the consequences, which is much more nuanced. For example, in California right now, 5 of, I think, the 6 most wealthy people in California have already moved due to not even the passing of the wealth tax, but just the threat of it. It's popular because it sounds amazing. It's the nuance and the complications of it and the disincentivizations and the fact that it's probably not even constitutional, but even if it is, collecting it is going to be a nightmare because what do they have to do? Sell their companies to create the 20%? They're not 20% liquid. Elon Musk is worth $850 billion and his liquidity is $850 million, 1%. You tax him 5%, he has to sell parts of his company. It's going to disincentivize him to do things that are going to really help the world's poor. So it's just, we could go on about this for a long time, but it's incredibly short-sighted.
The quick answer is it's short-sighted and it's a lack of understanding. It's human nature to want to solve unfairness by saying that guy has more than me, I want to take it. We've been doing that since we were cavemen. But Brett's answer is that if you think thoroughly about the long-term implications, we're better off allowing these people become trillionaires because everyone's going to benefit 50 times more from allowing them to be successful than if we just take some of their money and we distribute it amongst ourselves now.
Let's stop being jealous of the ultra-wealthy. First of all, they're not that happy. They're no happier than us. Okay, so just get that through your thick skull, everybody who hates billionaires. They are not exponentially happier than us. I can promise you that. They are probably as happy at best than we are. So just get over your jealousy. If they're doing, most of them are doing incredible work for the world's poor indirectly. They're not doing altruistically. They're doing it indirectly because they're creating things like AI or robotics or autonomous vehicles. If Elon's autonomous vehicles save 1 million deaths a year, because that's how many people die in car accidents, is that better for the world's people than taxing 200 billion of his net worth if he can save 1 million people a year? Whatever we can do to incentivize these people, let's do that. And let's stop being jealous. Stop thinking that they're super happy because they're on their 300-foot yachts. They're normal people that put their socks on the same way we do. They have hundreds of billions of dollars of net worth in stocks. They wake up thinking about their coffee and their wife and their kids just like we do. We just got to get over this crazy jealousy that we have.
By the way, I understand.
I'm not saying but it doesn't make you like super happy. You have normal problems. If you break your leg, it still hurts if you're a billionaire.
That's true, and I can agree with what you're saying. And in fact, I do agree with what you're saying. But I'm saying the viewers, like a common thing that they could think is like, oh, I'd rather be crying in my Bugatti than crying in my broken down shed.
I would be, but I'm just saying they're not
this. This is not a necessary conversation. Who gives a shit how happy they are? The only point
I just think there's a jealousy out there in the world thinking these people are super happy when they're not.
But you're not going to solve jealousy on this podcast.
I think
he might.
I am.
We don't know.
There are a lot of people in America right now that would love to strip Elon of every single penny that he has and make him a pauper. That's jealousy. That's sadness. And that is a short-term, feel-good, scratch the itch type of reaction. When the reality is the lives of Americans, like Brett just said, Elon Musk will, as well as others, Waymo, whatever, will save millions and millions of American lives through healthcare, therapy, through autonomous vehicles. It doesn't really matter what it is. But if you truly care about the poor in America, then you want to encourage the trillionaire class to continue down the AI path so that we can get robotics, so that we can get the protein
If you're worried about the cost of eggs, what's going to solve that more than anything
is robots farming.
Is humanoid robots. If
not,
you're worried
not
about
taxing Musk.
If you're worried about your son or daughter dying in a car accident because somebody was driving drunk, who's going to solve that? Elon and others.
So where does that end? What if we go down a few notches to the millionaires and even the 100,000aires?
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't then we just reduce taxes across the board and incentivize everyone to work?
Eventually, I don't think we'll be taxing much because the truth is the government won't need much money. The government will be able to do its functions.
I think there's a level of taxation that doesn't disincentivize you. Every socialist experiment across the world, across history, has been devastating for its people. Capitalism, look what capitalism's created. You can hate on it all you want, but I'd rather be poor in America than poor in Peru or poor in Venezuela or Cuba. That's real poverty. Capitalism is the best economic system ever created to bring up everybody. Not equally, but ultimately everybody. The moral rubric of socialism, I understand from a compassionate perspective, but ultimately you have to be intelligent enough to look at reality and look at the experiments that we've run and look at what actually works. And don't make your decisions based on this idea of compassion, but focus on reality. And reality is capitalism has worked. It's worked better than any other system. It continues to work and it will continue to work.
What do you say to the people, though, who are in their 20s or 30s and think that capitalism has failed them and that they did not get a fair shot in life?
Well,
they're struggling to get ahead.
Both things can be true. Capitalism...
But I would say a lot of people fall in that category.
I agree, but they're not.
But they didn't grow up in socialism.
Go to Cuba and walk around like I did.
Listen, this is what it is. It's naivety.
I'm not saying it's perfect, but go to Cuba, go to Venezuela, go to North Korea, and then tell me that you wouldn't want to be in America in a capitalist
what
system.
it is it's naivety, and it's I'm just going to call it what it is. It's naivety and victimization. I get the notion of wanting to scratch the itch. I get the notion of wanting to be a victim. I get the animalistic instinct of wanting to feel sorry for yourself. I do, and I'm not completely dismissing that. And I also think that there are a lot of good people that believe that these are the right answers. The only difference between those people and us, because Brett and I grew up as progressive liberals and went to Berkeley, and I'm not philosophically against taxes at all, honestly. I believe in a redistribution of wealth to the extent that it doesn't create more harm than good. The only difference between my brother and I think the people that are complaining, is that I think we take a more critical analysis towards the policies that they're trying to implement. Because we're not against trying to lift people up, but I think we're just more analytical and more thoughtful, and we're saying, hey, your animalistic instinct to scratch that itch real quick, just to take that money and give it to yourself, may not be in your best interest in the long run.
The socialist instincts, like for example, Bernie Sanders wanted to stop AI production.
He could have done more damage to the poor people across this world than maybe any human in history. That's the irony. He's so naive about his policies that he literally could have damaged billions of poor people with his policies. So it really comes down to a lack. He doesn't have a critical thinking, and he's naive, but he's good-hearted.
I agree.
It's true. I don't know. We just call it like it is. He's a good-hearted, naive person.
Totally agree.
Who do you think should control AI or govern it? Should there be an oversight of what's allowed to take place?
Right now, no. Right now, we can't restrict the growth. But just like we couldn't restrict the Manhattan Project. If we had put limitations on the Manhattan Project, Germany could have developed a bomb.
Is that what you meant?
Well, no, of course.
But there's got to be in the sense of like having guardrails.
But the question is going to be
how it operates.
It's going to be a linear,
how it operates, rules and regulations around it. It's going to be a
linear progression of rules and regulations.
Because right now, anybody could do anything.
But now,
the question is, who do you want to do it?
Well, let me give you the analogy that you used. The answer is right now, we need to let the Manhattan Project take its course. We didn't limit the enrichment of uranium in the Manhattan Project. We didn't limit the development of Fat Man and Little Boy or whatever I think they were called. Mm-hmm. And we allowed America to develop atomic weaponry, to utilize it, and to be the dominant force on the planet.
And we won World War II, and we've been the hegemonic power of the world ever since.
And then other countries developed nuclear weapons as well. Russia, China, many other countries. And then, and only then, did we get together and we say, hey guys, now we need to start looking at disarming. We need to look at rules and regulations. AI should be done in the exact same approach, which is where we dominate without restriction until that we can be the force for good in the world, because it's either us or China. And I think most of the world would agree there are problems with America, but we would rather America to have the dominant, super intelligent artificial intelligence before China.
What do you think is the biggest risk to AI right now?
I think if the Democrats take over, there could be a risk.
I think
I'd say policies.
If Democrats restrict the development of AI and allow China to take
But I think by then, honestly, it's too late. I think by 2020, it'll be too late.
Yeah. I think we have 3 more years with Trump. So I think that we'll probably already have superhuman intelligence, general, and probably superhuman.
I don't think there's much in its way.
So then why shouldn't Jack just spend all of his money? We still haven't hit that.
I don't think that follows. I don't think that follows.
I don't follow the logic.
We're always going to be in a hierarchical system, like I said earlier, and you're always going to want to be towards the top of that hierarchy.
But what's the difference between having a couple $1 million and not?
Go back 100 years and tell somebody, hey, if you can be poor, this is what the poor are going to have in America in 2026. Go back 200 years. You're going to have access to clothing, rice and beans and potatoes as much as you want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Antibiotics, toothpaste.
They would look at you and be like, why would I have to be rich? I mean, that's insane. Why would I? Who cares? After that, who cares? That's my answer to you. Even if there's an age of abundance, everyone's always going to want more of something, whatever that something is. It's just not going to be eggs, thankfully. Everyone's going to have access to the protein and carbohydrates, but it might be whatever it is.
Everyone's going to want to flex. It's
human
nature to want to flex. So there will be things and we should think about those things. I'll say one thing, because I think LA's had a very difficult few years for a lot of myriad of different reasons. I think that there's no city on the planet that's probably going to benefit more from artificial intelligence than Los Angeles, because there are only a few things that I think will be of macro human importance, because it won't be about capex, it won't be it won't be services, it won't be manual labor, and that's going to be weather. And I don't think there's a better city on the planet for that. And AI can't. And by the way, you can do a deep dive into weather, and I have, as to whether AI can start changing the weather. And it can for microclimates, it can for short periods of time, but it cannot make London sunny 300 days a year. So location is going to be very important.
I do think LA has a brighter future than it's ever had, because it has the things that
not in the next
AI
couple of years,
create.
but in 10 years and
20
15 years.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Do you remember that doctor's appointment you were supposed to make a while ago? The one that's been sitting on your desk for weeks, maybe months? Maybe it's just an overdue annual checkup, the weird rash that you keep Googling, or it's your dentist reminding you it's been 2 years since your last cleaning. Get your teeth cleaned. Trust me, we've all been there. Booking doctor's appointments has always felt like such a hassle until now.
That, of course, is where our sponsor, ZocDoc, comes in. For those unaware, ZocDoc is a free app and website that allows you to search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and then click to book an appointment right on the spot.
You can filter by insurance, location, and medical specialty, and you can also check verified patient reviews so you know what to expect.
From there, once you find the right doctor, you can see their real-time availability and book an appointment that fits your schedule.
And appointments made through ZocDoc usually happen very fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking, and yes, you can even score same-day appointments. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and just go to ZocDoc.com/iced to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today.
That is ZocDoc.com/iced. ZocDoc.com/iced. Thank you so much, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this episode. Now, as your business grows, hiring usually turns into one of the biggest challenges. With hundreds of applicants on every single job post, it can often feel impossible to know which person to pick who will actually make a meaningful difference right away.
A growing trend that I absolutely love is skills-based hiring, which is looking at what a candidate can actually do rather than just their background or education. This, of course, can help make the hiring process faster and way more effective.
That is where our sponsor, ZipRecruiter, comes in. For those unaware, ZipRecruiter is a hiring platform that helps you find qualified candidates more easily.
One super useful feature is that ZipRecruiter suggests screening questions that you can add right to your job post. And this, of course, just helps you immediately spot the right applicants with the skills you need.
ZipRecruiter also uses matching technology to quickly show you qualified candidates. That way, you spend less time sorting through applications and more time focused on the right people.
You can even filter for applicants who have been active recently, so you can focus on people who are actually ready to take the next step.
Let ZipRecruiter help you find amazing candidates with the qualities you seek. 4 to 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter find a qualified candidate within the first day. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/ICH. That's ZipRecruiter.com/ICH. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
And so to the viewer listening right now, what is some real world application, some practical advice that you would give to them to better their understanding of AI and how to stay on top of like the best tools?
Yeah, 3 things real quick. Learn as much as you can about AI through, I think, podcasts is the best way.
But Brett, I think you should limit that. We should talk about the type of podcast, because there's so much bullshit out there and clickbait.
I'll give some recommendations. Moonshots of Peter
Moonshots is a great one.
Anything with 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧, the head of Google DeepMind, is amazing.
The All In podcast.
The All In is great. Like real intellectual podcasts. That's number one. Number 2.
And so what, just be aware of AI, or do you actually have to start applying into your own?
Start to understand like we
But what
do.
about being like, because awareness isn't really going to necessarily help you.
I said 3 things. That's number 1. Number 2, consider this is the era of entrepreneurship. I think for starting now for the next 3 years, it's going to be easier to be an entrepreneur than ever before in history. AI will be able to give you whatever faculties you need, from basically AI agents to your marketing to your law and whatever your company needs. It's going to be there for you at the tip of your fingers. I would really consider implementing your passion into monetizing it through entrepreneurship more than ever. And the third thing I would say is, if you already have a job at like a big company or something, be the AI guy. Be the AI guy at your boring company. That is going to give you job security right now, at least for the foreseeable future.
And don't lean into, by the way, jobs that are clearly not going to be. I mean, sorry, but I don't know if you need to be going to design school right now, or learning to be an appraiser.
Yeah, we should talk about what not to do, not just what to do.
I think that's right. I mean,
are you going to go with $250,000 into debt going to law school right now? Coming from a lawyer,
I'm already having Gemini Pro 3, whatever it is, doing all my legal analysis, and it's drafting.
How good is it?
It's incredible.
Better than my attorney.
It's incredible. And
it takes 30 seconds.
Both coming from 2 people who were practicing attorneys for years, I would say AI can probably do 50 to 60% of what an attorney can do right now.
It'll be able to draft complaints and do legal analysis and do interrogatories.
So what's
doc review?
What is going to happen to the legal system in 20 years? Because we were talking to Chris Camillo about this. 3 years.
You won't even probably have human mediators. You'll have AI mediators, and it'll be quick. It'll be nothing.
But go ahead.
Is AI going to replace judges?
Eventually,
is AI going to replace?
3 years, but lawyers
there's constitutional restrictions, right to a jury of your peers, etc. That I think, but mediation will probably be AI. The arguments will probably be posited by artificial intelligence on each side.
Most intellectual
and judges will be using AI. And by the way, AI is already shown to have a much better analysis than judges, much more consistent analysis.
Do you think AI would be better than a jury?
Lawyers are already submitting briefs to judges that are written by AI. In fact, sometimes they're still hallucinating, and judges are getting pissed off because they're citing cases that don't exist. But in 3 years, that won't be happening. In 3 years, you'll be able to get a brief done in 15 seconds.
So there will still be human lawyers.
Attorney.
But those human lawyers will be 10 times more productive than they were. And so a law firm can be 10 people instead of 150 people.
When do you think it'll get to the point, though, where you have two AIs arguing either side?
You already are.
Well, they probably won't even have to argue. They'll probably just submit the two AIs, and the decision will come out in 2 seconds.
They literally already are. Well, you'd only need one AI. But
why would you even have to go through the argument?
Yeah.
It'd be instant.
Unbelievably cost effective. Think of all the wasted money that goes into litigation right now. And
this is what I mean by entering an age of abundance. I mean, what AI can do for society is going to be freaking incredible. Like, this should be an optimistic, people should leave this podcast being optimistic, because food's going to be cheaper.
The quality of life is going to go up so much.
Quality of life is going to be incredible.
Years.
It's going to be so deflationary.
Instead of the $24 billion that California wasted on homeless, only for the homeless population to double, that's, by the way, over $100,000 per homeless person that California spent, only to create a bigger homeless problem. You could service every single homeless person for less money with 2 robots, self-charging robots, who could be making their bed,
one could be a drug addiction
house.
Specialist. One could be a cook.
It could be a probation officer too. If they're doing drugs and they're in some type of.
We're spending $130,000 per prisoner per year in California. A humanoid robot costs $30,000. I mean,
it can cook. It can manage.
The billions of dollars that we're going to be saving when we can actually utilize humanoid robots in government. And of course, government's going to fight this and be the last freaking industry to adapt it. But eventually, it's going to have to.
Self-preservation. They're going to try.
Eventually, it's going to have to. And the savings and it's just. The future is so freaking bright if we don't screw it up. It's so bright, and I'm so optimistic about it and so excited about it, because it's all going to happen in the blink of an eye. We don't have to wait this is not going to be when we're in our 60s and 70s and 80s. It's going to be like the next 10 years. Guys.
Who's most likely to screw it up?
What does that mean? Government? What country?
Yeah, you're like, if we don't screw it up. And I'm like, who is
probably America. I'll tell you who's not going to screw it up is China, because they don't have these political bullshit issues that we have. They're going full steam ahead no matter what.
And there's no risk of public policy restricting Chinese growth.
Does that create the risk of a bubble, that they're investing so much money into these companies?
I don't think you can over-invest in AI.
The gold at the end of the rainbow is...
We're not trying to develop the cotton gin here. We're trying to develop something that will replace human labor and human intelligence and human intellect.
Let's talk about the bubble for a second, because I think the analogy is you're talking to two people who lived in Silicon Valley in the 1990s. So we know bubbles. And that's usually what people are talking about when they say AI is in a bubble. Is it like the .com bubble?
Correct.
This is not like that.
Although there are all some bullshit companies that are just saying they're AI-generated bullshit.
Yeah, everything is AI.
But there's a peripheral bullshit around AI.
I think of course. I think what people are afraid of is the capital expenditure worthwhile? Is the $600 billion the Mag 7 are spending in compute and chips and data centers worthwhile? I would argue, and it's a reasonable question, because we laid an insane amount. We laid an insane amount of fiber optic cable during the .com bust, and that ended up not being used for a long time. No one's going to say that the internet revolution didn't change society. It did, but they laid way too much cable. Same with the wireless issue. I would argue the demand for compute is infinite. It's absolutely infinite, and whoever wins with AI, so to speak, I don't think it's going to be one winner, but if you need to spend $80 billion a year, if you're Amazon, to stay competitive, I think that's a fraction of what you would lose if you're not in the game when we reach full AGI and or super intelligence. And if you're not one of the players, it's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that you're missing out on. So no, I don't think we're in a bubble. I don't think they can spend enough.
But I think I'm gonna augment this answer to some degree by saying I think when people talk about a bubble, Brett takes an analytical kind of financial approach to CapEx. But I think what they're talking about is, can the stocks go down? And the answer to that is that's just humanity and human nature,
human psychology,
and psychology and overreaction. We can't sit here and say that humans won't overreact to certain indicators and that certain stocks won't go down. That very well can happen. But if you look at the long run, you can't overspend in this.
Will AI change the world? Yes. Will the companies that are spending the most on AI most likely be the largest players when that happens? Yes. So is an AI bubble in that sense? No. Now, can Meta and Amazon stock go down or Tesla stock go down 20, 30%? Who cares? Yes, it absolutely can. But I'm thinking about, are we entering an age of abundance? Is humanity going to experience an era that is like no other in human history? I'm thinking more on those levels. And to that extent, no, AI is not in a bubble.
I will say one thing, because I said it on your last podcast, and it's done well, and I continue to believe in it. Treasuries. And the reason is because I'm a firm believer in artificial intelligence being extremely deflationary. Right. So the cost of goods is going to go down, obviously, and services. And we're going to see high unemployment. So I just can't see in the near term how the Fed's not going to be chasing this. They're always late. So I can't see how they're not going to be chasing this, and we're not going to see some of the lowest interest rates.
We both invested in the possibility of deflation and lower interest rates. We both invested heavily in Tesla.
There's nothing better you can do than buy long-term bonds if you want to go be long on the idea that there's going to be lower interest rates in the future.
But I think long-term, if you're not in the Mag 7, 10 years from now, you're probably going to regret that if you have, disposable income and you want to be investing.
How else are you investing outside of that? Like, what else are you buying that you think is going to retain value?
Vintage cards and collectibles. Yeah,
some collectibles.
And that's honestly because I love them. Yeah. And I started that collecting also, well before AI.
I would say land, real estate, but even more specifically land, heavy real estate.
Yeah.
Well, you can argue anywhere, but obviously location matters.
Newport Beach, LA, weather. People are going to, when you don't have to work.
Because robots
don't have to live in Illinois.
Sorry, robots can build homes, but not land. That's why I'm just, for the audience, saying why I think I would go more land heavy. When robots, this is going to be a long time from now, not because they won't have the ability to do it technically, but because we won't have enough robots to be doing it. But eventually they could probably build a house for a hell of a lot cheaper. But they're not going to create land. And they're not going to create land in LA where we have perfect weather.
And they won't create things like again, I'm selfishly referring to collectibles because I've been in this game for a long time. But I still also believe that that those types of things that are human in nature and that can't be produced by artificial intelligence will be what's valuable. The flex might be a Honus Wagner card. Right, that might be what Brett talked about. How we always have a demand for hierarchy in society. So it might be we have to try to figure out what the flexes are.
Different fashion.
But clothes, it's going to be rare. It's going to be rarity. It's going to come down to rarity, not just clothes. Not.
So what's a good value today, though? What do you think is a good value today that you could buy this year that you think will go up in value? It's maybe undervalued right now.
Well,
I still
unfortunately, there's not much undervalued because there's so much money on the sidelines and. That was on the sidelines after COVID that has now come back into everything. So almost everything is valued pretty highly right now.
I would still say, though, AI cannot create land in a good area. And we look what's happened, although ironically, and this is only because of California policy, the real idea is people don't need to work from home, can work from home now, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have to be in the office. In a kind of a utopian, idealistic, thought experiment, people would be leaving Texas and coming to California because objectively, you'd want to live in California under the sun. If it wasn't for California
policies,
wasn't
horrible policies and
correct.
It wasn't
you get rid of all the stupid California policies. And California is the destination for the global destination. Once in an age of abundance where there's no work, or you certainly don't have to work from, in Austin or somewhere else where there's difficult weather. Now, granted, there are different aspects of people's families.
Let me ask you guys.
Yeah.
If you had everything right now, all the clothes, food, housing, etc., what would you want?
And I don't know if I would want much if I have the house.
That's why we're naming shit that doesn't matter, like collectibles.
That's why because I have money and I have everything that I need. So I'm starting to. I bought the John Riggins Super Bowl jersey.
It's exactly that kind of stuff. It's the stuff that you don't need. It probably will go up in value.
The rare,
if you have everything you need,
collectibles that you don't need, ironically, I think will be the most valuable.
If we're right about the age of abundance,
and
which I think we are, then that stuff will be more valuable. But that's beautiful. If what separates the poor and the rich is freaking baseball cards, that's amazing. That's best case scenario. If we all have food and we all have cars and we all have housekeepers and we all have et cetera, and education, medical care, then I would much rather the difference between a rich and a poor person being who has a old Ferrari than it is who can freaking have food on their table.
Let me follow up on this too and say, let's say you were writing a book about a utopian society 50 years ago. Who knows? It doesn't matter when you wrote it. There wouldn't, presumably, in a kind of an idealistic utopian society, there wouldn't be work. You certainly wouldn't be working to survive. You may be working as a fetish. You may be working, because it's enjoyable. But the idea, whatever book you wrote, passion. Sure. But whatever you're writing about, you're not saying, oh, in my utopian society, people must work to survive. That can't be. So, from an optimistic perspective, we are moving towards utopia. We are moving towards not having to work and an age of abundance. That is,
can I make a side
arguable? Yeah, in 1 second. Okay. That is almost the definition of a utopian society. I'm not saying it's going to be utopia, but we're going to have very low crime. We're going to all be able to eat, drink, drive, have leisure activity, not have to work.
Medical care, education.
Yeah, I mean, we really are going to be living the definition of utopian society. There's a lot of reasons to be optimistic here.
Well, so the side point I want to make is most jobs are horrible. Okay, like we're luxury real estate agents in LA. You guys are podcasters. Okay, but most jobs suck. I mean, you're driving to work in traffic. You're sitting at a freaking computer in a cubicle all goddamn day. I mean,
or you're up on a hot roof nailing. Yeah, I mean,
most jobs suck. So let's just be real here. I mean, the less of those, the better, as far as I'm concerned. I don't like, oh, we're going to lose each other. Yeah, most of the jobs we're going to lose suck.
We were lawyers at big law firms. I'm sorry, but I don't see. There's not a. I would have rather someone just give me $100,000 a year. And by the way, I
don't know about UBI. I don't know about
but I want to address UBI because I think a lot of people misinterpret these studies. If you do an analysis of the UBI studies, and there have been
I have, so I'm curious to hear your take.
There have been multiple studies, and I think there's a misdiagnosis of those studies as where people were not satisfied or not
after 1 year.
Happiness, yes. And those studies and my analysis is completely opposite.
Okay, but hold on. The studies have shown
during longitudinal studies.
Let me just tell the audience.
Okay, fine.
The studies have shown oftentimes that UBI has been a disaster in the sense.
Totally disagree.
After 1 year, their level of happiness. First of all, they're not investing very well. Secondly, their level of happiness after 1 year is the exact same, if not lower, than it was
totally
before they
received.
That's not what
the studies say.
Okay, go ahead.
No, the studies show an increase in happiness for almost everyone, including at different age groups, even people that were working or poor. Obviously, if you give it to poor people, they're going to increase their happiness.
Over time, longer than a year?
The only time that you saw the happiness decrease and actually went below was when they ended the program or close to the end of the program when they knew that it was ending. They got anxiety and stress. In a longitudinal UBI practice, go do a deep dive right now. You will see the study. Yes.
Have you read the books about the people that win the lottery and how unhappy they are like 3 years later?
That's not UBI. It's just not UBI.
Saying. I would rather, can we agree that we would rather UBS or no?
What is UBS? Services?
Yeah. Because that's how I think we should.
I've never heard of UBS before.
We should provide, instead of giving people money, which they usually suck at. Did you see how busy Rodeo Drive was?
Well,
hold on, let me just make this point. Okay. How busy was Rodeo Drive during COVID? When we all got the stimulus? It was insane. People were buying phone. People do not know how to
that was fraud
handle discretionary income. It's a fact. I don't care what studies you say.
Who cares? It's going to be a mix of UBI and UBS, so obviously.
Because you're going to provide people robotics. Look, you get a humanoid robot. You get a medical care. You get food, you get et cetera, as opposed to you get $1,500
Let's just call it a confluence of the two. It's obviously going to be both. We're not just giving them money they can go buy drugs or something.
I don't like the idea of UBI.
Obviously, you're going to, fine. We provide them a humanoid robot. The point is, when you...
I would be for.
There is a lot of studies that show that a UBI/UBS works if it is consistent and you don't take it away. So I'm optimistic that humans have always been able to adapt. When we were in tribes thousands of years ago, we derived satisfaction from different things. We derived it from storytelling. We derived it from religion. We derived it from family. We derived it from raising children in a collective. There's
making
so many
jewelry out of the bones of the animals we killed or whatever.
Exactly. There's so many ways to derive human purpose. Now, it's great that we derive human purpose from work. Why? Because we've been inculcated as children, and capitalism must survive by inculcating the value of work. So I get that, and right now we do drive. But the idea that somehow purpose is inexorably tied to work is is simply not the case. We've created that social construct, and we can decouple it, and we can reattach purpose to the many other things that I think
like
are more
family
valuable.
or ethics
or hobbies,
or hobbies, or
so
passions, or
intellectual endeavors.
Go ahead. He says that you will be happy to the degree that you are productive.
No.
Well, hold on. That's not necessarily inconsistent. If productive doesn't necessarily mean with work.
Fine. If
you
take
raise
a
a family,
broad, holistic view of
you can educate yourself. That's productivity. So I don't disagree with that. Depending on what he means by
talking to family.
It depends on what he means by productive. You'd have to follow up on it.
Fine. The point is, it's a very
it's probably offering some sort of benefit to society, that you are contributing to something bigger than yourself.
I disagree with the construct, because yes, I derive purpose in my life from productivity, from adding value to society, from creating happiness in others.
But not solely from that.
But that's because I am a construct.
Your connections with your friends
of my
and family.
social structure. I'm a construct of the education, the American capitalist education. So of course I derive my value from that. But young people can be taught that value, that purpose comes from so many different things, and when they grow up, they don't attach it just to work. So what I'm saying is we can decouple.
I derive happiness from friendships, from acquiring knowledge. I love that. From good sex, from good food, from a lot of things that are completely separate from my work.
Intimate, and enjoyable dinners with friends, to traveling and to experiences, to going to an F1 race, to going to the Cannes Film Festival, to hanging out with you guys on the podcast.
I don't think those things are productive.
To buying you guys lunch for 12 straight years.
I don't think that...
That's actually false.
I don't think that's what Graham means by productive.
It's exactly.
Graham hasn't paid for lunch since the early 70s.
Okay. I mean, if you want to, I can pull up receipts because you.
Wait, hold on. Let me state the fact.
Look at this,
and then you can disagree.
You want to state your opinion?
He has the receipt. Why don't you see that first?
Sponsoring Graham's lunches for over 11 years straight. 99% of Graham's lunches
I'll claim his wardrobe.
Paid
Go
for.
ahead.
And I'm 80% responsible for his wardrobe.
This is one of your shirts.
See?
I think.
Okay, there you go.
Brett, these are your pants.
As long as you don't have
Are you going to show me a
Jason,
receipt from
these are
like
your
one
shoes.
lunch that you bought at some point? Because you did buy lunch a couple.
You don't have my underwear on.
Well,
They'd be baggy on you. Go ahead.
Fine.
Okay, so
nothing you can say can disprove this. Graham, just admit it.
What?
Just admit that I've been buying you lunch for 12 years.
Yeah, but it's not one. But you didn't say, oh, you bought one lunch.
So I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't know.
Go ahead, let Jack go.
That was before Jack was born.
I don't disagree with you subsidizing Graham's life. That I don't
life.
necessarily.
I don't think he subsidizes his life.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But you did mention that, like, hey, every time I go out with you guys, I pay, and that's actually categorically false. If anything,
I have no problem paying.
If anything, I actually think it's 2-2 right now.
Maybe with you,
really?
With Jack.
Oh, fine with you, but I'm saying, but Graham, it's probably, and this is not an exaggeration.
And because here's the thing,
it's probably 850-3.
Okay, well, we're not saying...
This was the last time that we got lunch. The last time.
I'm not talking about you.
Where was that, by the way?
I'm not talking about you.
Let me see. It was
You
called
bought
Great
lunch.
White
That was
Melrose.
the Melrose.
Yeah.
Jack, fair. We're 2-2.
But in fairness, you paid for it so you could show your audience that you paid for it.
That's not true. I didn't know I was going to bring that up.
Okay.
Graham,
He only had the receipt just saved
only
on
because
his
I
phone.
was
He's like, hell yeah. It's like, can you send me?
right
Can you send me the digital receipt of that, please?
And by the way,
Email that
I think
to me.
I've bought
Yeah,
Graham
exactly.
hundreds of dinners, because what he would do is order a big lunch and then he would pack half of it to go for dinner. So I've really been buying your lunches.
So
and
actually,
dinners.
he's mentioned
That's
this
good on you.
plenty of times.
Yeah.
So he said it was actually like a frugal life hack.
My hack was that you would take the office out to lunch, and there would be maybe 5 to 7 people, but everyone would only eat half. And so I would take everybody's halves.
Well, also, you know what he would do?
Like,
What you would do is he would encourage us to get like quesadillas. So they were like discrete, parcels of food that he could take home, as opposed to like a half-eaten something.
He would encourage that?
Yeah, I think he would actually encourage.
like, oh yeah, get that.
Parcel
Oh, he's like, don't
foods.
get the soup.
Yeah, don't get the soup. Exactly right.
Yeah.
It was
Get a burrito, but split that in half.
Yeah. In fact, he would say, "Oh, he wants the burrito cut in half." Yeah, or he wants the quesadilla
Well, he was
sliced.
picking at your food after you left.
We have created wealth for each other independently through completely different approaches, because I've never been frugal. And I think I'm an example of you can be hardworking and successful and be the opposite of frugal and be, wealthy. Whereas you took a different approach.
What's the biggest financial Hail Mary you've ever had?
You mean, well,
opening the office
I bought
on
the...
that's
what
not
do you mean by Hail Mary?
Like
opening
taking
the office
on
Sunset.
excessive risk for where you should...
Going all in on one thing.
Oh, the office.
The first office on
The
Sunset.
office. In fact, Graham was like my first agent.
The one next
Yeah.
door.
You're my first agent? No, this office right here.
So
Actually,
why
the
was that
biggest
such a
risk
big
we ever took was
financial
probably
risk? Where
hiring
you at?
Graham.
Yeah.
Well, because I signed up for a 10-year lease at, I don't know, whatever it was.
$10,000 a month.
$10,000 a month.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars in build out.
And I had no agents, and I had
no money.
Yeah.
Not much
just
money.
me. I had no brokerage. So that was the
How
biggest
much of your
risk.
net worth did you put in the build out in the office space?
I think it was about 300,000.
What year was that?
And it was in 2014. I was probably
All of us
in
cash,
2014. Yeah, I was probably worth
All the
about $1
cash.
million. I think I probably
So you
worth
put about half.
about a third of it. But I also was then on the
A
hook
10-year
for
lease,
hundreds
yeah.
of thousands of dollars of lease payments. Over
And
the
how
next few
confident
years.
were you at the time that it was going to work out?
70, 80%?
Well, yeah, because I think it's an interesting question because I think I was naively confident. So, and I think I almost knew that I was naively confident.
But even at the time.
But you were fine with it.
Even at that time.
I
were
also
you ever
had,
higher than 80?
Well, I also had worked hard for a few years, and I also didn't have much concern about going backwards too. I lived in a $1,400 apartment. I was happy then. I was happy, while I was doing well in real estate. I don't know. It's not a good question because I think I knew that things would work out, and at the same time, I knew that I would be fine if they didn't. But I think that's a unique situation. I'm not recommending it necessarily. I think it was probably 90% of business school students would have said that was a dumb investment.
Yeah.
Arguably, one of the biggest differences between you and I, Graham, and I think we know each other very well, is that I think I spend money on things that make me happy and quality of life. And I think you are generally more concerned / pessimistic and careful. And you live a great quality of life and you're happy, but you're less indulgent than I am.
Sorry, guys.
And I think it's okay to be indulgent. I don't think it's necessarily beneficial to be going through life spending money based on a worst case scenario. I don't. I think you would be happy in a larger house. I think you allowing yourself to indulge, as long as you can get past the mental anxiety that it might create you, is a net positive. Had I had your approach of anxious pessimism, I wouldn't have opened the office, and I wouldn't have been able to have the company and have the expansion.
I would look at it this way, Graham. Can you afford the worst case scenario?
I
Worst
take
case scenario.
the worst case, which was the Great Depression of 1929, and then can it get a little worse than that?
35%
Jesus
drop.
Christ, you really go
Yeah, an
worst case.
82. Yeah, I
You really
take an
go deep
82.
down the rabbit
I take an
hole.
82% drop,
But
and
here-
then I assume my
but what
income
was my
goes to
response?
zero. At the same time, my lifestyle has to go up. Let's just say we have kids, and then there's a health problem, and then one of my parents gets.
Can I counter this?
Yeah, please.
During the Great Depression, those who had any amount of wealth after the crash had the best buying and opportunity and the best opportunity for appreciation in the last century.
And appreciation. And that's exactly
Yeah.
what I
Does
said.
that make
Grant.
sense?
I said, if you are not forced to sell, and if you can weather that worst case scenario, you'll
And you still have some-
every time in
some relative
American
wealth.
history of the last 150 years that we've seen that type of crash, if you were able to persevere and not be forced to sell, that within 10 years, you'd be wealthier than
make
ever
more
before.
purchases.
But even if you don't, you
Either
are
way.
wealthier than ever before within 10 years.
I
So
would-
just don't, as long as you're not forced to
My
sell.
fear is always saying, just because for the last 150 years it's done that doesn't mean it's always good. Even though
Yeah.
I agree that there's a 90 plus.
It's more likely that AI wipes you out. And it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I
and you
would
have
say the
preferred
chances
house.
of the existential threat of AI wiping out humanity is higher than that scenario. A worse than Great Depression type of crash that lasts for multiples longer, that's less than 1% what you're talking about. Anyway,
Also, that house will be
let's
worth
keep going on.
That's the main
15
thing is
and 10
that
years.
what I find interesting is whenever Graham is kind of at a crossroads where he's like, should I spend the money? Should I not spend the money? This house, for example, he reached out to Jason to get Jason's opinion on, and Jason gave some crazy numbers in terms of you're spending half of your income every single year. Graham is spending like less than 2% of what he could withdraw from his investment account every year.
Yeah.
But that still was not necessarily
I don't even want
enough.
to share with your audience what percent of my income I spend.
What percent of your income
It's
you
high.
spend?
It's embarrassing. And I'm not happy about it. But I mean, this is what happens. Your lifestyle gets like, you catch up to your income. Your lifestyle you just adapt slowly. You know what I mean? And you end up like, how the hell am I spending this every month?
He looks at what he spends. I don't.
Yeah, I'm
I just
OCD
look to
about
make
it.
sure that I'm increasing my wealth every year. And if I am, I don't give a shit what I spend.
And how do you measure your increased wealth?
I do an analysis of my net worth.
And does it have to go
bank
up a certain
accounts.
percentage every year?
No. As long as
What
you know-
percent do you typically go up per year?
of my net worth, I've never looked at it like that. But I
5?
generally add
10?
millions
Maybe
to my
10?
net worth every year.
Um,
And I'm spending a shit ton.
the
so-
advice that I would give your audience is don't chase wealth, chase the trajectory of wealth. I would rather, and I would be much happier and sleep much better if I died at 50 million versus $1 billion, but I was wealthier every year until that 50 million, as opposed to I died at $1 billion, but I went to $1 billion and then down to 100 million and then up to 3 billion and then down to 400 million. That will drive you crazy, and it's not what you want. Even if you die wealthier, it's just not worth it. For your happiness, your peace of mind, and your sleep, and your stress levels, and your health, just I wish upon everybody just a trajectory towards becoming wealthier every year, and even if it's much, much slower than you would like.
And I think on top of that, it's a process. And if you're not enjoying the process, if you're somehow thinking I'll be happy when I have X money, I could not come up with a worse possible approach to life, because one, I guarantee you that will change. I remember the numbers I used to have when I was young, 10, 15 years ago. Those numbers always increase. And by the way, I would say if you were to ask me the happiest years of my life, although I've had just a wonderful life and I think I'm very happy right now, but if I had to point, I'd probably, Brett, I'd be interested in your take. I would probably say junior college.
I was going to say junior college.
18 to 20, where I had very little money.
Drinking natty ice.
Yeah.
No money.
And, wearing a wife beater and working on my 69 Camaro, 5 hours a day in a ROP class, working as a waiter or as a bar back, hanging out with my buddies, eating the burritos at the Roach Coach.
Very little responsibility. School was easy.
We'd go to Subway,
No
we'd
job.
split a foot long to save money, or we'd go to the Roach Coach, and give a burrito.
Wow.
Probably 6 times a week.
Or whatever the dollar sub was at Subway. We would eat that like 5 days a week.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
We'd split
It's
it in Subway.
insane. I must have had Subway. I think I had Subway
Subway was
250
great
times
back
in
then.
one
And
year.
driving like
Yeah.
a total beater.
I probably would have been like 6'6" if I didn't do that.
And-
That's probably
and so happy, just really, really happy years, partying, hanging out.
I will add to that also that we know a lot of really wealthy people, and the relationship between extreme wealth and happiness it's disconnected. And beyond that, nobody hits $1 billion. Never once in the history of billionaires did somebody hit $1 billion net worth and be like, I'm done. I did it. I can chill.
And now I'm happy.
It's just not the way it works. Like, oh, $2 billion. Well, that guy's a bigger yacht. Well, that's just human nature. It doesn't change because you're wealthy. It's the same human nature. You still get jealous of people who have more than you. You don't just get to this point of like, okay, now I really am going to golf every day and live this amazing lifestyle like I thought when I was 17.
To a certain degree, once you get some money, it's super helpful, because if you can go to dinner and you can just buy dinner, if I can take you guys to lunch like I do,
Graham wouldn't know.
and not have to worry about it, then you're wealthy. The extra $1 million so that I can go buy the John Reagan Super Bowl jersey and the Ford GT, the incremental happiness that I get is like a 0.1.
So what
I don't know,
amount
you
would you
talked about
say
that
that the
jersey a lot.
incremental happiness really starts to, like the curve starts to
It depends
go
where
down?
you live. In LA, the value is
I'd
gonna
rather be making $300,000 a year. I'd rather be making $100,000 a year, living in LA with good friends, and a healthy family, and my little dog, and great people in the office, than be a billionaire without that.
What are the main things that are very much worth spending money on?
business
At
class
this,
seats.
aside from
What's
gaining-
funny? I used to actually think that business class
when I
seats
had
was
no
the
money,
worst expenditure
it
of money
seemed
on
like the
planet Earth.
worst.
I'd be like, how the fuck does somebody spend $9,000 when I can fly there for $450? That is the dumbest $9,000 you could
for
possibly
10
spend.
hours.
And now to me, it's like the best money that I could possibly spend.
But other than that, I would say good food. I love good food.
I think vacations. Oh, you know what I would
Vacations,
say?
yeah.
You know what I would say? Where I enjoy spending money the most is on other people. And I don't mean that to come across as like somehow,
Yes, you
know.
do.
Yeah.
No, I really don't.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I
Philanthropy.
No, not philanthropy, because that's not direct.
I'm just giving you. A
I mean, I do philanthropy, but anyway, I do a lot of. Yeah, I really like being able to. As stupid as this is, I like being able to go to dinner with my friends and getting dinner, and just every single time. We're going to Stagecoach. I am getting the house, and I really enjoy that. I'm getting the artist passes. Not for you. You got to pay for your own.
yeah.
But I really take pride in the fact that I,
You think it would bring you
enjoy
joy to give me an artist pass? No?
It does. It does. Doing things for you
Okay,
does
we'll
make
see.
me joy.
I'll update you.
But I enjoy that more than anything, because I think the I don't know, the best thing you can do with money is increase the happiness of those people around you. I'm like very utilitarian in that respect. So I do appreciate that.
I mean, that's why we enjoy buying you guys lunch.
I appreciate it.
It's the least we could do.
Yeah.
Lunch in
That's
the
nice.
singular.
No, for real. You don't.
Philanthropy.
I think
Yeah.
we had Panches Tacos before.
Pinches.
Pinches.
Yeah, you did give me pinches, bro.
Yeah.
The only other question I was curious, what was the last argument you two had?
It's every day. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I'm
it's
surprised
not,
we didn't even argue.
But we don't argue in the way that we used to. We don't fist fight anymore much. No,
What's last
basically
fist
never.
fight? What's last
I don't
fist
think
fight
we
you guys
really,
had?
we don't really go at it like the last few years.
I think we pushed each other.
I think he's finally learned his
a
lesson.
few weeks ago. Yeah.
Did you win the last fist fight?
No, I beat him up in a parking lot, I think, and the police had to actually pull me off of him. So I think I won that one.
When was
And
that?
what did you wait, hold on. So you had pinned
I
him.
don't
and did
think
you just
there's-
keep wailing on him when he was already pinned?
Hold on a
Oh,
second.
Yeah,
There
it's
are-
hard to break us up.
Hold on.
Our
a second.
friends have had to break
There
us
are
up too.
winners and losers in our fist fights.
Oh my
It's not-
God! Yes, I can beat Brett up, and I've beat
First
him
of
up
all, the
our
only
whole
time
lives.
either of us ever got knocked out was when.
Oh my God, this story. Brett thinks he knocked. I literally.
Did he-
all I wanted to.
he didn't get up for a while.
First of all, we were
What's the
like
definition of
9 years
knocked out?
old. Second of all, I laid there because I wanted him to come back over, so I kicked the shit out of him, and he was too smart to come back over.
Okay.
That's the only reason I laid there.
I
He
did
tells
not.
that story like
With
he
your
knocked me
eyes
out.
closed.
What about the time at
No, I
Dad's?
was pretending
What about
like
the
I
time
was
at
hurt,
Dad's
so
where,
that-
where you started bleeding out of your nose when I hit you in the face and you were like, that's 18 drops of blood. I'm going to fucking kill you. And he's just counting the drops of blood like
Well,
the only
you know
two
what?
times.
you-
hold on,
I
only
think
two
my point.
times.
I think my point is
We're both
proven
me.
by the fact that Brett remembers the 2 times that he got.
It's
him.
never happened
Because
to
there
me.
were
Remember one.
2,000 times that I
Give
beat
one
his
piece
ass.
of evidence of one specific
Thank you.
time.
I've named 2. Jason, go
I
ahead.
will literally
The floor is yours.
give you a piece of evidence right now.
The floor is yours.
If
The
you want
floor
to
is
pretend.
yours.
The floor is going to be
It's
yours
2 to 0.
in 2 seconds.
And it's 2 to 0
Oh
in
my God,
stories of
500
getting your
times.
ass beat by your brother.
Brett, let's just be honest. We've been honest this entire podcast. Be honest. I've kicked your ass your entire life. Just be honest. 99% of the time.
In the most extreme examples of getting your ass beat,
Oh my God, this guy's such
I
a
have
lawyer.
been the victor.
He is such a fucking lawyer. See how he just lawyers everything?
But in a lot of the
Ass kicking.
in a lot of the lesser ass kickings, I've taken the
the
brunt of those.
victim. Yeah,
Who
Yeah.
benches more between you two?
I do. I'm stronger
Now?
than
You
him.
think
Actually,
now?
he's gotten pretty strong
Yeah,
lately.
gotten
He's
pretty
working out
strong.
pretty strong.
Most of
For
our
most of our
lifetime.
lives, I've been able to physically dominate him.
Well, it's not because of strength. It's because he will bite and scratch. It's just he has no moral virtue in
think what he
fighting,
means
whereas
is
I do.
I will win. That's what he means.
He would beat me up.
I will
he
win.
tried to beat me up in front of my mom on her birthday last.
Do
Do you remember
More
that? In a
physical
hotel,
than
in a
Wait,
5-star
recently?
hotel lobby, in front of my mom on her birthday. He has no fucking shame. No shame.
Brett,
Why?
How old
because Brett has a mouth on him.
Because he just doesn't know
Brett's
when to stop.
antagonistic and has a mouth,
has
and
no
I
fucking
I would
shame.
use my physical dominance, and Brett would use his mouth. And if he mouthed,
Could
I
you-
would.
Could you imagine a worse time to do something stupid on your mom's birthday in front of her in the lobby of a 5-star hotel?
Brett, you must have said something.
like,
You must have been an
does
antagonist.
an
Do you remember
adult
what it
do?
was that you said?
Just stupid
No, he-
stuff. He just
no,
has
he's-
no
he-
off switch when he gets mad. at
How
me.
long ago was this? What?
2 years ago?
This was only 2
That's
years.
last
somewhat
year? Was it
recent.
last year?
I don't remember.
Dude, it was in San
Remind me?
Francisco when we took mom to the Berkeley speech. event. It was
Oh,
last year.
Yes, it
It
was.
was like a
Last
year,
year.
It was
a year
last
ago
year,
this
yeah.
week.
Yeah, and by the way, he was talking shit, and I literally said, "Bro, say another fucking word, and I'm gonna take you down." And we were in the lobby of a really nice hotel.
In front of my mom on her
Yes,
fucking
and you know what he did?
birthday.
He wouldn't shut his
She
mouth.
was mortified.
Right.
Whatever.
What did
But
you
that's the
say?
point.
This is what I'm dealing
He's
with.
an antagonist.
What did you
with
So
say?
his
what did you
mouth.
say after he said that?
And then he blames me, like somehow, like being
fucking
physical is
remember what I
worse than,
said. I
than
just remember
being
his actions.
antagonistic.
Anyway,
But you didn't. You stopped
He-
talking once he said that.
No, he didn't. He keeps up. He can't stop
but
talking.
then you didn't take him down though.
I did take him down, and then he keeps talking.
So you guys actually did end up fighting.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we
ended
did.
up fighting. Yes, I do remember that. Yes, and I won.
but we don't do it nearly as
Pretty
often.
soon you'll be able to settle this with AI.
Not our fights.
No.
Not our
I don't think
fights.
it's the last thing that AI is.
But
gonna
we do it
solve.
a lot less. A lot. Like, we get along way better than we used to.
Yeah.
At
Oh
what
my
point do
God.
you know when to stop fighting?
We don't.
We
He
don't
doesn't.
really know. When we get separated.
Yeah, police. My mom's crying.
How long does
Oh
it
my
take
God.
to like get over that?
No, 10
Oh,
minutes.
quickly. 10 minutes. It probably took us 30 minutes that day because
30
that was
if
a
it's
really bad physical
30
fight.
if it's really bad.
We really got under each other's skin. But within 30 minutes, we were fine. Usually anywhere from 30 seconds to 30 minutes.
It's like the two cats that just like tumble.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Except that
They're
one cat's
fine.
bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
But yes,
There shouldn't be an aspect
more like a
of his,
lion and a cat.
Yeah.
there shouldn't be an aspect of his personality that surprises you by now.
Doesn't surprise me.
And so why? But if you're able to predict that he's able to say something, then why
Lack
would
of
that still
emotional maturity is the answer to the question you're posing.
What? Why you can't stop talking?
Why you can't just
Why you can't be
take
antagonistic?
the antagonism without getting physically...
Why can't you just take the beating or shut your mouth? Or shut your mouth.
This is the worst sentence ever uttered on a podcast in history.
So I was gonna say, take the mics away at this point.
Oh my God,
Cool.
dude.
All right.
That was a good one.
All right,
All right. Well,
guys.
thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on.
thanks
for
This is
coming
a
on,
lot
guys.
different than
Yeah,
what
that
we
was a
usually do. I
blast.
really
Always a
enjoyed this
pleasure.
discussion.
Bro.
You know,
Appreciate
who you would really enjoy talking to is Chris Camillo when it comes
Yeah.
to the AI talks. If this does well, we'd love to bring in Chris to talk to you about AI.
Cool.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
good.
He is our AI guy,
I'm so
and you'll
glad
have a
that we had
great
an
discussion.
opportunity to
Yeah,
talk
that was
about
fun.
AI. Brett's so intelligent about this topic.
That was
I
fun.
love that we had the opportunity.
Thank you so much for watching the podcast. Really appreciate it. And if you want to see our next episode, Early Access with Sophie Rain, this is an episode that initially YouTube didn't like it. We had to cut around it. We had to do some censoring. But if you want to see the entire episode in its full form as it is before it goes public to everyone else, feel free to join as a channel member. Get access to this episode along with every other episode, uncut and uncensored. Enjoy. Thank you so much. And until next time.